Here we go. Do you remember when we were children?
Hello and welcome to the Take Life Back 100% podcast. 100% real, unfiltered and honest. Sit back and enjoy the show.
I found my first love. She picked my heart up. Took from a boy into a man.
Well folks, welcome back to the Take Life Back
100% podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the show last week.
Yeah, and this week we're going to focus on Shane. So we are.
In the hot seat today, folks.
That we are indeed. But before we begin, we'd like to ask not only ourselves, but yourselves a question. And we'll start with Shane to answer. Where would your ideal holiday destination be?
Good question. Well, it's kind of an easy one for me, to be honest with you, because I've looked at loads of videos of people, you know, on holidays in Thailand and stuff, and I'm mad into all of that. Like, I'd watch a lot of, you know, National Geographic and stuff, and I love rivers.
The wild side of Asia,
So like if I see people down, like, what you call that, you know what you go bleeding river, jumping into the rivers, or what's it called when you go walking up the rivers now?
Oh, yeah. Do you know, if you're going over there, when I used to work in a bar, there was a taxi driver, and he'd go over twice a year, and he always said to me, if you ever go to Thailand, he goes, you need to go to a moon party.
Yeah, the full moon party.
Full moon party, yeah, that's supposed to be great.
Yeah, so Thailand fucking would be like really on top of the list, you know, like even like to go see like the temples and all that stuff. Like, I kind of find all that cultural stuff very interesting, and the way, like, just to see the way people live their lives, they've a much simpler type of life, you know what I mean? And I've kind of done all of I've done the Spain thing. And it's not really, as we discussed, it's not really a proper holiday. Like,
no, because everyone goes to Spain.
Yeah, you're just sitting in the sun. And
like, don't get me wrong, it's a nice place, but I don't think it'd be anybody's ideal destination.
Yeah, but look, I just melt in the sun anyways. Well, like, when I was younger, I used to sit out in the sun and get sunburned. I'd be looking at myself through sunglasses thinking I was getting a tan, and then we take them off and I'd just be sunburned to bits, you know what I mean? So I've learned that lesson, but yeah, I dip in and out of the sun. So Thailand would still be pretty fucking hard in that aspect, but I'd love to go there. I just think it'd be my type of thing. Do you know what I mean? There and Bali and all that sort of stuff.
Right, Southeast Asia and all that, yeah?
Yeah, it'd be class.
It'd be nice,
that would be mine. So, but if anyone out there, get in on the comments and let us know if there's anywhere that you'd like to go. What would be your top destination and why? Do you know what I mean? I'm not down to, this fella has the weirdest place in my eyes.
Right, so we don't all, but you know, right? I've never been out of the country in my life. The furthest I've ever been is Northern Ireland, right? yeah, Northern Ireland, right? But people always think that it's really weird, as you just said, the weirdest place. North Korea is a place I would love to visit. It's the only state that's still around today that would be sort of a socialist Stalin state. Although it's not really socialist, it's a bit mad how the state is run. I just like to visit the state. I'm fascinated with it.
Just to see what way things go.
Yeah. And people always tell me, oh, well, you get put in a prison camp for this, you get put in a prison camp for that. Listen, people who tell me that stuff, they really don't know anything about the state. Yeah, but no one wants to get in
any videos and that, which they're not allowed on that. Are they allowed on social media over there?
No. There's controlled social media and stuff, so there's propaganda. So there is. But I just like to visit just for an experience. It's an experience.
You're just trying to be controversial, pal. That's all it is.
No, I'm fascinated with the state. Like, I know a lot about it. You know, it's probably my most research subject is North Korea. Right. I do a lot of North Korea watching, like. So I know a lot about it, like.
Yeah, well, look, fair fucks to you. That's you. Wouldn't be my cup of tea.
Yeah. So anyway, we move on to today's topic, will we?
We may as well.
Yeah. So why don't you start off with telling us about your early childhood, your early days?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose I've told this story a few times. I grew up in Tala, baby. That's me fucking hometown. Like, when I was a kid, I remember just fucking about, like, you know, all of us as kids just kind of running about the place carefree. We didn't have much. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people then...
You'd be out doing the usual stuff, knock a door, run and whatnot.
Yeah, all that. So, well, just out adventuring, you know, out catching bleeding frogs.
Yeah, making making swings in trees.
I don't remember making any swings, but
No.
we'd be running around the place
Right.
just for hours and hours on end. You know, there'd be fucking gang loads of horses running up and down the streets. It was like the fucking Wild West back then. But I was happy in my little mind. You know, I didn't see anything kind of going on around me. But remember living in a gaff up in Cushland. There was me, my mum, my dad at one stage, my sister, my brother Paul.
It was nice to be oblivious like that, wasn't it?
Well, it was.
You kind of feel like once you knew more, once you learned more, and you weren't so innocent.
Yeah, well, I suppose for me it was to go from that. Like when you don't, as a kid, you're very resilient, so you don't really pick up on what's going on around you, you know, and still to this day I probably don't know a lot of what was going on, but then when you kind of go to the change of being took out of that environment and ending up in the care system, which is kind of what happened with me, and I've spoken on it a few times, so I won't go into it in great depth today, but yeah, that's it. I was kind of happy as a kid, and then I was doing well in school as far as I remember. I have memories with, like, me and my mates. There was a shop called the Candy Shop for anyone who was from that area. I don't know, the Candy Jar. I remember used to be going in and we buy loads of sweets and big boxes of cookies. Like, you get loads for your money back then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Penny sweets cost a penny.
Yeah, and I remember I was sitting on top of the shop one day. So we used to climb up the back of the shop and sit on the top and be sitting there eating cookies. I remember there one day I was fucking eating until I literally got sick, you know what I mean? But yeah, so basically I kind of ended up in the care system, which was...
So you obviously, as you said, you ended up in the care system. That wasn't a positive experience at all.
Well, it was very confusing, to be honest. I didn't know why it was happening. I didn't know why that kind of change in my life came about, and it was very scary. Like, you know, but I did have my brother and sister at the start to kind of keep me company. We ended up kind of in the first few houses I was in. Because obviously I moved around a bit at the start, and the first few houses I was in, they were with me, you know, so that was kind of a bit of a comfort blanket for me.
A security blanket, because you're not, and you don't feel like, well, at least I have my brother and sister here, so I'm not alone.
Yeah, I wasn't alone, but I also felt like I had a job, and that job was to kind of protect them and make them feel kind of okay, do you know what I mean? I felt like I was the big brother, even though my sister was a bit older. So yeah, over time we kind of got broke up piece by piece, you know, which left me kind of feeling quite angry because I was losing my security blanket as well. I was losing my job as far as kind of keeping them safe and stuff, and over time that it just, as I said, it left me quite angry and confused and sad, you know.
Did you blame yourself? Like, for that type of thing, when they're taking away
To be honest, when you're that young, I think I don't think you do blame yourself. I still think you're quite naive in what's going on. I think for me, I just kind of got more angry, because I used to see my mother on visits and stuff, and I didn't at that stage I didn't have any anger towards her because she was still my man, and when I got to see her, that was like bliss for me because I got away from the environments that I was in.
So it was a bit of escapism, like.
It was a bit of escape, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I talk a lot about I've talked a lot about the dark side of some of the stuff that goes on in foster care, but I am well aware, like, there is good foster parents and good foster families out there.
I only had a chat last night with a fella, right, in the hostel I'm in, and he's now going to Coolmines and that, doing the pre-entry. His children are in care. And I was telling him a bit about your story and about how your experience affected you in the foster care, and that his kids are in foster care. And he said he's blessed because his kids are in a great foster home. As you say, there is the other side. He said he's very lucky that his kids are with a good foster family. They're well taken care of. They're happy. They're well fed.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. Look, there is both sides. Some people get adopted then, you know what I mean, which is even better again because people are doing it out of their own pocket and for the right reasons. I suppose for me at the start, there was a bit of bullying from members of the family that were there. You know, the first house I was ever in, there was two girls used to slag me man and stuff like that, you know what I mean, which kind of made me angry. And I've told the story before on a different podcast that, you know, I got my own back before I left the house. I used to go down and piss on the carpet.
Yeah,
I know that sounds like good of your behaviour, but look, when you're a kid, you'll find a way to get your own back, and that was my way, you know what I mean? Anytime anyone wasn't there to get down, because I was angry. I already felt isolated, I already felt alone, and then I had these two people, and they were much older than me. Why would you do that to a child? I don't know, but look, you never understand. Maybe they didn't want people coming into the house that took the attention off them. I don't know. All I know was it wasn't my fucking fault. So
yeah.
I remember then kind of that was the last place I spent time with my brother. We kind of got separated then because we used to be messing a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we used to entertain each other.
Yeah.
And eventually then when he kind of got took out of the situation, that's kind of when I really went off the head. Now I hadn't even made me communion at this stage, you know what I mean?
So you're still only a child, you're only very young.
Yeah, I was still only a child, but
still very, very young.
I was very angry that once he was took away and I was on my own, like I really, really felt that, you know what I mean? That kind of,
that's when it kicked in.
That's when I started to feel alone, and it was like, the only way I can explain it is after that I ended up in a foster house, which was the longest one I was in, which was fucking torture for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll go into that a bit in a while, but that was the start of my journey of being like really feeling separated from family, siblings. So I was going into the world and I was experiencing everything on my own. And like feeling different to everybody else, because there is a bit of a stigma around being a foster kid. You know, it's kind of, you're looked at different, you're nearly treated different. You know, when you're in the care system, people don't explain things to you the way your family probably would. I think you're treated as nearly older than you are, or just lack of interest or communication.
It must have been hard, right? See, when your brother was taken away, your boy, it must have been hard, and then you're in that house. So I know there's crack with that house because you told me before. But when you're in that situation and you have nobody you can confide in, nobody you can talk to, you know, when you're feeling alone, you're feeling depressed, and all these other feelings inside you, and you have no outlet for that.
Yeah.
That must have been really tough as a child.
Well, it was, and the thing is, like, kids are very resilient, but when you experience kind of trauma or stuff from a young age, what happens is you tend to turn it inside and you kind of live in a little fantasy world of your own up in your head.
Yeah.
Which I still think I do. I
think to a degree everybody has a little fantasy land going on in
yeah,
their
but
heads. I think everyone does.
The problem is it's not healthy when it's a form of escape for you. So
when it's your coping mechanism, it's not healthy.
Yeah, but look, I used to do a lot of daydreaming, like about being back with my family, or at times what if I lived somewhere else with a different family, especially when things weren't going well for you. But so I ended up in this house. And you know, from day one going down, I remember being told I was getting brought to McDonald's, believe it or not, and then I start getting introduced to this family, which is really below the belt. You know, I wasn't prepared in any way, and but when I met this family, I kind of knew, I had a feeling from the man especially, that this wasn't going to be a good situation, and I was already leaving off the other house off the back of anger. So I wasn't ready to be put into an environment with somebody so serious and somebody so controlling. And so that made me enemy number one kind of straight away, you know. But it really didn't take very long for things to turn sour in this place. So like, I'm still dealing with some of that stuff today. You know, and it takes a long time to kind of overcome it, and there's days where I feel it on me back and there's days where I don't, but I think that's something I'll always be working on, because when you have early childhood experiences and you learn how to deal with them in such a negative way, because kids don't understand anxiety, they don't understand anger, they don't understand really many of the emotions, and what I learned to do was I learned to internalize everything. And that was such a bad thing for me over time, because I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. I didn't really know how to talk about it.
Yeah, and you see, when you're that age, right, and you're dealing with traumas and all, like, even when you're a young teenager, because a lot of times we don't understand that stuff, and we build, as you said, coping mechanisms that we use to deal with this stuff. And that becomes ingrained and it becomes a habit. So it becomes habitual, second nature. This wears off, and it could be detrimental to us as we get older.
Absolutely.
So it is, and that's where we need to, I suppose, look at the way we deal with things and work on it.
Yeah, well, that's it. But I had a lot of time to myself. Like, I would have been grounded an awful lot. I would have been treated different to the other kids in the house. And
Yeah, that old feeling of you're not my brother, you shouldn't
yeah, well, like,
be here. And
do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's the whole thing is, like, you know, you'd be introduced as the foster. This is me foster child. Like people are doing such a good job at what they're doing, but when you have someone saying that, but really at home they're the fucking devil in disguise, you know what I mean? That used to really
And
piss me
I
off.
can imagine, right, when someone's introducing the kids, this is me son, this is me daughter, this is me foster child. I can imagine that sort of hurts.
Yeah,
as
well,
a child.
it's that whole thing. Like, as I said, there is a kind of stigma to being a foster kid. Like, I would have experienced bullying, and I would have felt like I had to put up a front a lot of the time because I felt on my own, and I felt like the louder I was, the more people wouldn't push me, you know, which wasn't always the case. But and especially in this household with the abuse that went on and the batterings and stuff like that and the mental torture, when I was outside of that house, no one else was gonna treat me like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, looking back, I think I was too quick to fire, but I don't believe it was my fault. You know, I couldn't deal with having to go through anything else outside of that house.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to, you know.
Yeah, but look, when you say you were too quick to fire, you're only a child, you don't know any better, so that's the only really sort of response you would have as a child, because a child is not, say, as mentally developed as an adult. You wouldn't have as much life experience, so you wouldn't have known any better, so you can't really blame that child for the way the child reacted.
No, well, that's it. Like, you know, everybody kind of reacts out of some sort of place inside them,
Yeah.
and sometimes the way they act doesn't, like, people only see the bad in it, but they don't stop to ask themselves the question, what is actually going on with that child? Why are they acting out the way they do? And kind of do a bit of investigating or try to help, because when I was in that situation, you know, I was kind of, as I said before, you know, there would have been a lot of mental torture, grounding, a lot of beatings made, sit on the end of my bed from the start of the day till the end of the day, you know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be allowed to lie back, so basically it would hurt me back. Look, I remember I used to be in excruciating pain.
Yeah, that's,
And I'd be left sitting there in the dark as well, so
You know-
I ended up kind of being uncomfortable in the dark, and still to this day, I'm not afraid to say it, I still feel uncomfortable.
Do you know what's mad? Do you know what's mad about that when you say, like, that he had you shut in the bed, you weren't allowed to lie back and all that? That's actually what is known as torture. That there is called a stress position. So it's that's used by the likes of the CIA and all that to torture victims or people that they capture.
Yeah, well, look, as I said,
It's mad that people would do that to a child. Like,
oh,
you know?
look, this fella used to, look, I still remember, he'd fucking be in your face screaming, like, you know when someone's screaming at you and the spit flying out their mouth and their face is red raw, and he'd be like, I'll fucking skin you alive and all of this. And, but yeah, just so many fucking things. Like, he went in and grabbed me. Like, he ended up working as a caretaker in the school, this man. And as I said, there was alcoholism and all involved in it. So I shouldn't have been in that place to begin with. You know, this man had clear mental issues. He had slices down his arms and everything else.
It makes you wonder what sort of checks were carried out.
There couldn't have been, come here, there couldn't have been any checks, because this was one of them people, you'd only have to look at them and go, he's not fucking right, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And nobody, like, nowadays with people I know from around there, like, a lot of people would have said to me, you know, no one fucking liked him. Everybody knew
he was
that
at.
there was something bad about him, and like, even the kids I would have grew up with in the like, that I would have went to school with, that he ended up being a caretaker, so I couldn't even get away from him in that environment. They would remember him coming in one time and pulling me out of class literally by the throat, and the whole class was screaming, crying, you know. So I had kind of told social workers on 2 or 3 occasions what was going on. They went behind me back, things got better for a while. And then I ended up in counselling because my sister died, and I'd kind of started to cut myself a little bit because I just didn't know what else to do. I'd no other outlet, and you know, your man be like, "Oh, there's the banshee crying upstairs," instead of supporting me and consoling me.
Yeah.
So that was another kind of thing. I had to deal with grief at a young age, and we'll go into that about the hunting, but even at that, I'd no kind of support around that, so that was another thing I had to kind of deal with inside myself.
Yeah.
And the way I deal with that, even still to this day, is I kind of put it all aside. But anyway, so I reached out for help, and the help never came. Even with counselling, I went to counselling. I found out later she had told the family that I was suicidal. They took me straight out of that so that they didn't get into trouble, obviously. But she went behind me back and told them as well. So that was another kind of figure who should have stepped in or done something, who didn't do it. And then the same in the school again. The teacher had told me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never let that happen to you again." But that man was still left working in that school, and I was kept off for 2 days because I got such a fucking hiding that I had to tell his wife I fell down the stairs. You know what I mean? So, if you have to tell someone that you fell, or you tell them that you fell down the stairs.
Look, that's a very common thing with men like that. Let's say go back to back in the days when women would be battered by their husbands. That was the most common thing. I walked into the door, I fell down the stairs.
Yeah, well, look, I kind of feel like the wife was maybe a bit of a victim as well.
That's what it's about.
Because like, even though she should have stepped in and made sure that I was okay, like that was her job as much as it should have been his. It failed to happen, but I don't believe it was our malice on her part. I believe that the control wasn't in her hands. Do you know what I mean? But I suffered as a result. So, I mean, look, that's just some of the stuff that went on and that was allowed to happen, which is why I kind of speak openly about it, because it's still going on to this day, but it's still going on with kids, and you only have to look at the news and see the stuff that's happening with kids going missing, kids being abused. It's all because the same systems are still in place, like what was allowed to happen to me, which affected me for...
There's not enough checks and balances, so there's not. The system fails you at every step of the way, and to this day, you're right, it does fail children consistently.
It fails children, but like, I consider myself a strong person, right? But at the same time, I make mistakes and I don't get everything right all the time. But the one thing is, I'll keep going. But I've spoke to a lot of people who have said to me, like, "Thanks very much for speaking out, and it means a lot." But they tell you out straight that they don't have the strength anymore to speak out about what they want. Like, they've been mentally broken, and these are the people who are forgotten about in society. They're just looked at as the addicts or the screwballs or whatever. But these are the very people who have been failed by the system, and I just think it's so wrong that, like, the system washes the hands of you as well at a certain age. Like, I got fucked out at 16 after living in a residential unit. Because I stood up for myself, you know, and the staff didn't like it because I was holding them to account to do that fucking job and not be bullying or taking the piss. And I got fucked out. I got no aftercare, so I was thrown back out into a mad world with all of this stuff I was carrying with me. And you know, I just didn't know how to fucking deal with it, you know, that way. So obviously things didn't go very smoothly from there, like.
But look at you now, like, you know what I mean? So you've a long story, and you said you lost your sister to Huntington's disease. You know, so I know Huntington's disease was a very big thing for you. So it was. So let's talk a bit about that, like how it affected your family and how, like I say, affected you, and let's say how it has a lasting effect on you.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'll start by kind of telling people Huntington's disease is a genetic disease that was in my family, and I didn't know much, like, the full extent of it when I was a kid, but over time I started to realise my sister had it, and I knew eventually that, oh, well, she's not just going to be sick, like, this is going to kill her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was still a bit naive to it, and then later in the years, I'd found out that my brother had also had it. So I started to kind of question, oh, well, if my sister has it and then my brother has it, like, what's the story? Is there a chance that I could have it? And I'll explain a bit on that. Like, Huntington's disease it's like a mixture of MS, Parkinson's, a couple of things into one, and what it does is, over time, it affects your muscles, and you know, you'll end up in a wheelchair, and eventually you'll die. You know, all of
Just
my
deteriorate, is it?
you just basically deteriorate over 10 years or whatever, you know. But my family was actually the first in Ireland, as far as I remember, to where juvenile Huntington's had started kind of coming into play, because Huntington's disease before that was known as like an old person's disease. Like old people got it in their 70s and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the juvenile thing was actually only something new that was starting to happen. But the difference was that if you got it when you were younger, it progressed a lot quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because your body's grown a lot quicker, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like, there was me, my dad, Paul, and my sister from my dad's side. I have another brother, he has a different father. But out of the three of them, basically, my brother, my sister, and my dad had it, and God rest them, they've all passed from it. Because, as I said, it's a genetic thing. You have a 50-50 chance. And it was a lot of carnage to watch. You know, it was
and such a short time. Like.
It was a lot. I was so used to having family members in wheelchairs around me, going to hospitals to see them. You know, that was a huge part of my life as a kid, and even into my early adulthood. But the scary part of it all was, which really kind of done a number on me, was having to get tested for it.
I'd say that was hard. I'd
me,
say that was psychologically torturous. Like.
It took me about 5 or 6 years. I went for it once to get checked because I was so bad at myself with the stress and worrying about it that I was starting to show symptoms that looked similar to, you know, Huntington's, and it fucking freaked me out. But I went for it, and they do a psychological test and stuff like that. But I couldn't follow through it. Because I was so worried about what it meant for me in my life, and I was a young man only starting to go out and meet girls, and you know, thinking that this is something you'd have to explain to people, getting into relationships and stuff. It made me feel like less of a man, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then obviously, like coming into me, I'd say 1920s, I had to get tested. I realised that if we didn't, and like that, I went in for the psychological to make sure they checked to see if you're okay, to get the news, what way it affect you. And I just went in and I told the woman, I says, right, well, it's like this. I says, if I don't find out the way things are at the moment, I'm probably going to end up dead.
Yeah.
I says, and if I do find out, it's the same fucking thing. So what do I have to lose here? But I was really at my wit's end, because when you're worrying about something like that for so long, it consumes you. Like, I can honestly say that.
I can't even imagine how hard that'd be.
I thought about that every minute of every day for years, and it kind of turned me into a hypochondriac. It sent my nervous system into overdrive, you know, which is what was getting all these twitches and all of this. You know, it was very, very highly stressful. But the fact that I left it for that long,
every little thing with that, like, happened to you when you're getting sick of that must have been like torture up you.
Yeah, but do you know what it robbed me of? Do you know what it robbed me of? And it still makes me a little bit sad to this day to talk about it, is that when I was around my brother and stuff, you know, God love him, we had a great relationship, but I was so freaked out about stuff that when I was around him and I seen the way he was, I was looking at him to see if I was resembling any of his things. So in all reality, like, I wasn't fully there with him, and I have a bit of guilt around that, because I feel like I wasn't there for him 100%, and I know it's not my fault, but that's what it done to me. It robbed me of that relationship, that full relationship with my brother in them kind of final years, you know what I mean? And I can't take that back.
Well, look, I'm sure you were, as you say, you were there for him. You weren't there 100%, like, because of what was going on in your head, but you were there for him. And I'm sure, like, he cherished every second he had with you, you know. And I'm sure, like, with what was going on in your head, if he knew it was going on, he wouldn't blame you in the least. And I don't think he'd want you having any regrets.
Yeah.
Because you were there for him, even when you was going through care and that, you know what I mean? You loved him, and you knew that.
I know, look, I understand, and looking back, I know that it was, I couldn't be any other way.
Yeah.
Because realistically, I had nobody to help me through all that. Like my ma wasn't in a good headspace for a long time, and she wasn't able to be there for me, and I was on my own. Do you know what I mean? Even dealing with all of that, people couldn't put their stuff aside and kind of help you, which, you know, I'm kind of working on that relationship still today. Like, I love me ma, but there's a lot of damage repair that's going on in the background that nobody
course.
sees, because it's stuff that I'm trying to change in myself. But there'll always be that conflict, because you'll always feel like people failed you, and where the fuck were you when you needed them, kind of thing, you know. And would all of that stuff have happened, which I know now it probably would have, or it could have been fucking worse, but it doesn't give you a childhood back, you know what I mean? You're the innocent kind of party in it all, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of rebuilding that comes along after. And I come here to tell you, I'm rebuilding every fucking day. Sometimes I go down a few levels, sometimes I build up a few. And you know what, Amber, I kind of wonder to myself sometimes, is that the way my life is always going to be? Am I always going to have that backwards and forwards? Because it's what I've known.
I think throughout life, I think we're always going to have backwards and forwards. I don't think anybody in life, no matter how well off you are, how good they're doing, I don't think anybody's life is consistently up. I think everybody has these ups and downs, and we have our doubts. We're always going to have them. So yeah, like you say with your brother now, right? So as I told you before, my oldest brother passed away in 2009. He died of a brain aneurysm. Now he got up. I shared a room at the time. He got up. He was complaining for 2 or 3 days about a headache and whatnot. And he went to band practice, struck him at band practice, and then, you know, he passed away a couple of days later because he was on breathing machine after a few days. So sometimes I'd sit there and say to myself, yeah, sometimes I'd sit there and I'd say, I'd be like you. I'd say to myself, well, if I had tried to talk to him over 2 or 3 days to get him to go to hospital, maybe it would have been different. But that's only an if. And if I sat there like you and spent a lot of time blaming myself for that and going, I regret
Well, here,
this.
do you know what it is though? I kind of came to the conclusion that when they were well looked after in places where they were, you know, and when they kind of had to be cared for more heavily, you know, I kind of came to the conclusion that, you know, I was the lucky one in a way that got away, because out of me dad and the 3 kids, which were his, like the 3 of them are gone.
Yeah.
So I'm the last one left out of that. I am the lucky one that got away. But when I kind of thought about it, it was like, well, I've paid the price in other ways, you know, and I'll be picking the pieces up for a long time, but at least I have that chance to do better, and they didn't have that chance, so I think I owe it to them.
And I think you need to be grateful. What I was trying to get, I think you need to be grateful for the time you had.
Right, yeah. Well, this is the problem with, you know, this whole gratitude thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm all about the gratitude, and I'm all about thinking positively and, you know, being thankful for what you have. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just going to tell you exactly how it is for me. There's days I can tell myself I'm lucky to have this and I'm lucky to have that, but I don't feel it inside me whatsoever. And I don't know what that is, but I just can't feel it. And then there's other days where I just go out and look at something in nature and I'm like, oh Jesus, that's great. Do you know what? I'm one of them people. I can be up and I can be really down, and it's kind of harder to talk to yourself on them down days.
Your emotions are a bit extreme, would you say?
Me head.
Well, your emotions are in your head. So yeah, I'd say you're like a bit extreme. Like you're either really happy or you're really sad. I don't think there's an in between.
Do you know what I think?
The way people say there's a scale of 1 to 10. I don't think you have a scale. I think you're either 1 or you're 10.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But there is a constant battle, and I give myself an awful hard time, which I shouldn't do. But you know, that's just, and I know a lot of people are kind of like that. But I suppose I just have to learn to be fucking grateful for the small things. Do you know what I mean? Because I am really lucky, and I'm in such a better place today. But Jesus Christ, it's been a fucking long road to get here, and I feel so sad for people who have nobody, because I know what it's like to kind of navigate the world after a care system and going through grief and stuff like that, and to do it on your own is one of the hardest things any person will ever have to do. So when I think of kids, or young adults trying to do that. It breaks me heart because I know what the easy way is. I went down that route of emotional regulation through drugs and stuff like that, and it becomes a great coping mechanism.
Yeah, and look, it was only in the last few years when you say drugs, I learned the message in that song. I forget who it was by, but drugs, they don't work.
They don't work. They do temporarily though.
No, but they don't really.
But well, look,
all you're doing is suppressing it, and suppression is not helping.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. There was times in my life that when I first started kind of getting involved with stuff like that, it was like finding a new best friend because I never really felt like I fitted in anywhere. I was treated different to other people because you were the foster kid, you were targeted. Like I remember moving up the Tala into a boys' home. And there was a lad lived around the corner. They were older lads and they all used to hang around together. And I was terrified to walk around because every time I walked around, they knew I was from what they called the homeless gaff, and they'd bully me. Do you know? So I lived in fear. So you were kind of up against that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It was a lot to be doing, like, and it was hard work.
I forget what you even said there.
It's all about like the drugs and how the drugs don't work. And you found them as a new best friend, like.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it was, and you start hanging around with people who are in the same boat, and I suppose you develop this kind of feeling like you're in a group, but really they're just there trying to escape this shit. Do you know what I mean? But I will say that if I hadn't have found them tools, what else would I have done? Because I really feel like that if it wasn't for them, that it could have been very dark. I think it was just delaying the inevitable, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, as would have been said in groups and that in the Red Door, right? To me, throughout the years, all you're doing, right, and you probably don't realise it at the time, right? All you're doing when you start taking drugs and that with other people who are in the same boat is because none of you have the understanding, none of you have this knowledge, but you can attain it later on, which you have now, obviously. But all you're really doing is you're kicking that can down the road, and you're just making things worse. To go back to the song, like that's what it is. The drugs don't work; they just make it worse, and that's essentially what it is doing. That's what the two of us have done. Like,
yeah, well, look, I think the problem is sometimes it's a one size fits all, and I don't think there's enough resources put towards people. Now, I'm not saying someone deserves more than the other, but it's more complex for other people to get ahead. Like that's why you get these fucking 20 steps forward, 10 steps back.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it myself, you know what I mean? I found it very hard, and until this day I still have me fucking slip-ups, you know what I mean? But I'm 100 times better than what I was, because I believe a lot of what I was dealing with was the mental warfare, do you know what I mean? And trying to understand my emotions, where they're coming from, but learning to stop and check what I'm telling myself and see if it's right or not, you know what I mean? So that was probably the best work I've done. But I'll be honest, anyone out there watching, you know, it doesn't fucking matter how many times you slip up or whatever else. The main thing is you never give up on yourself. And I do believe everybody's time is different. And I know there's this whole thing where just do it this way, this is the way. And look, while that works for a lot of people, some people need more time and they need different understanding.
Here's the thing I learned about addiction, and this applies to everybody, right? Now, I don't go to meetings of that. You go to meetings sometimes.
Not anymore.
Well, you used to, right? Yeah. Meetings work for some people, they don't work for me. But I would still recommend people try meetings. Look, you have to try everything to find out what works here, because what worked for me might not work for you. What worked for Shane might not work for me or you. You know, so try everything. And look, nobody gets it on the first try. So if you do slip up, don't blame yourself. Just get back in the horse. As I like to say, you show me the person who got the recovery on the very first go, and I'll show you another.
Well, look, come here, I'm a perfect example of that. You know, I've gone 7 months, kind of went back to doing my own thing. Now, never back to fucking the madness I was living before.
Yeah, just a relapse, like.
But I've done the whole back and forward. Does that make me like any less than anybody else? No, it's just my personal journey. And I think the problem is that people get so hung up on their failures that they forget the journey that they're already after being on. They forget the things that they're after learning. Like, there's times my brain tries to lie to me, but things that I've learned or things that have been said to me can come in and counteract that now a lot easier than what they would have before. Because for me before, when I fucked up for a long time. You know what I mean? Now I'd pull myself back, but I'm going to be honest, I'm gonna be honest, because you have to be honest on this.
Yeah.
I'm still finding it very hard to accept that. You know the way some people are like teetotal, or they can never touch anything.
Yeah,
again.
look,
For
that's-
me, I just find that hard at the moment, and that I can't see that being the part of my life. And if I have to learn the hard way, I'll learn the hard way.
Again-
But I feel like when the time is right, the time is right.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
again,
mean?
that comes back to philosophy, right? There's many different philosophies for recovery. Now, a lot of people essentially who go to the rooms, NACA, they all say that, right, recovery is total abstinence, right? And that's fair enough. That works for them. That's what their recovery is. But recovery is like not the same for everybody. Like, I'm not one of these people who buys into total abstinence. Now, I am totally abstinent. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. But I could go on the weekend, let's say, with one of the lads, go out for
Have
a
a
few
few
pints
jars, yeah.
and go home.
Yeah.
So I would, and I wouldn't, because drink was never my thing. I never associated with my using and all that. So I wouldn't be becoming like, I used to drink a bit when I was younger. You know, I'd go out on the weekend or somebody's birthday or whatever and have a few drinks and that and go home.
But there's so much more to people than their abstinence or this, that, and the other. Do you know,
Yeah.
you're not your whole being doesn't just boil down to that aspect. Like, we're fucking people first. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, right,
And there's too many people who, in some ways, that's all they have.
that's
And
what I was just about to say.
what
Yeah,
happens is and I've seen it myself, is that they're quick to judge other people who are either early in it or whatever else. But what they forget is everybody's had a different upbringing, everybody's have a different life, and whatever it took for you to get there, happy days. But it's not the same for everybody else. So my whole thing is kind of just be easy with people, be gentle with people, and let them find a way. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you can tell someone day in, day out, don't do this, don't do that. But what worked for you is not going to work for them. Sometimes it's as simple as meeting the right fucking person. Like, one person coming into your life after trying for years and years, and you can meet the right person who you really click with, and it could change everything for you.
yeah. It's in any form of recovery, right? In any form of recovery, it's the people you have around you. It's important. So
But look,
it is.
back, like, the reason, as I say, I got into all that was because of trying to self-soothe,
Yeah,
to not have to feel the stuff that I was feeling. And I done that for a long time, man. I mean, I done that for 15, 20 fucking years.
yeah.
Do you know, while still kind of pushing forward and walking, and fucking got me house and all. Do you know, I'm married, I have a
But
wife.
speak-
We have all these
But
good
speaking
things.
but speaking of all that, yeah, we can actually discuss like how you are now in life and where, say, you want to go in your future.
What
You
do
know,
you mean,
especially
get off
look,
all the depressing stuff.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I've told the story
Yeah,
a few times,
but-
and you know where my head brings me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest about it. I'd be thinking people like, oh, here's this cunt talking again, or whinging again. That's where the darkness comes into my mind. But then I have to remind myself, it's not about them people. It's about the ones who are listening, who need to hear it,
Yeah.
because they've shared similar experiences. You know what I mean?
100%. So, like, and that's what it is about. It's about that few who listen to the message and it resonates with them. You know, and they might take something from it. If you look, as they say, if you can help one person, that's well worth doing all this. But anyway, right, so let's just say the depressing stuff. Let's try and cheer people up a little. So let's talk about your life now. You know, how you started, say, like, to take life back movement, and then where you see yourself going in the future. Talk about your life in general, like, you know, work, your home, and all that. Like,
Yeah, well, look, I suppose the take life back thing 2 years ago that I started was I was in a really bad place. I was fucking, you know, I was still in the pits of emotionally regulating myself for the 20 years.
yeah,
But it got to a stage mentally where I felt like I was ready to break. I was working night shifts. I was working 6 nights a week on top of everything else, and not using my time wisely, me spare time. And I felt like I was really getting to breaking point. And the whole thing, the going on to social media, I suppose a bit of it was about accountability. But you know what, the best thing that came out of it for me was kind of that connection with the people out there. Has really helped me, because I spent so much of my life feeling disconnected from the world. And while social media can be a negative thing for some people, especially the younger kids, for me it was actually quite an empowering and quite a positive thing, because I got to connect with people outside I got to realise I wasn't this big bad fucking person or this worthless piece of shit. So it gave me that kind of, I got to watch myself in real time transform, and I also had a chance to try to reach people, especially kids in care, and show them that, you know, no matter how bad things get, you have to hold on to the hope and that there's a way forward. And I suppose I was trying to be a vessel for that and be a kind of a a role model for that. And I've everything I've done my best that I could do, but like I said, I've had ups and downs.
Yeah,
but it's helped me a lot, and a lot of people have said it has helped them, because Take Life Back is not just about recovery, and this isn't a recovery podcast. I'll just put that out there. This is just something I'm talking about now, but Take Life Back, I mean anything. It can mean coming back from an illness. It could be coming back from a serious fucking assault or you know, addiction or whatever in life. Life throws so many different types of things at people that they have to fight tooth and nail to come back from. But you have to make that decision.
Yeah.
You have to make that decision and say, I've given this much away. How much of it am I going to take back? You can't really take it back, but what you can do is you can start trying to live within the now, and take your life back in that way. So that was the whole idea behind Take Life Back, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've changed so much as a person.
Yeah.
I feel like a much wholer person, even though I have me dark days. I do not feel like the same person I was before, because it was a dark place and it was a lonely place. Even though I have my wife and she's been a great influence in my life, and I'd be fucking lost without her, to be honest, because she does so much for me.
Yeah.
And I just don't think I appreciated that for a long time, and I'm starting to come into that grounds of being able to think about other people and not be so caught up in that selfishness of my own kind of self, what would you call it,
Self-obsession.
Yeah, self-obsession. That's exactly it. Because that's how I face the world, was me against the world. Yeah. So it's very hard to bring someone else into that, because if you do, you have to change for them. You're accountable to them as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, like, right, when you look at where you are now, right, where you were, there were a lot of people come through the care system. So they do, and a lot of people come through the care system. They end up, as you say, homeless on the street. People go, oh, that's just a junkie, this, that, and pass on heed them, right? That's the thought process. The thing people never ask is what they people were through. But then there's other people, right, like you, who come through it, and you're now at a point in life where you're living the relatively normal, if you can say what normal is, you know, life. So you've got your own house and a mortgage, you're married, so your car on the road and all that. So you're quite successful in life.
I am.
So
and, like,
you're quite successful. Like, and a lot of people, there is people like you're the complete and total opposite to what a lot of people would think of someone who went through that.
But I'll explain this for a second, right? And this might explain some of the reason why I found it hard to tune into the good things that I did have going on, is because for anyone who's kind of lived in a lifestyle where things just pick up and go and change all the time, what happens is you start to live in a state of fight or flight, because you're getting ready for the next move or the next this and that. Like, this is the second longest place I've ever lived in my life. The first place was a hellhole, and then I have this place. But do you know, it took me nearly 3 years to actually sit back and feel any gratitude for this, because I think in the back of my head, I was waiting on that carpet to be pulled from underneath me to go. So I was living in that. Yeah. And I think it's only in the last while that I've kind of realised, right, that, like, this is it now.
Yeah, see,
that's settled here.
That's the old head, right? I have that same feeling, right? I think a lot of people who've been through trauma and stuff have that same feeling, especially in your childhood and you've been through bad stuff in your childhood. It's the case of, this is too good.
Too good.
You're looking around, where's the bad? You know, there's something going to go wrong here, sort of, and you're just waiting for it.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose, when you have, as I said, like, even my fucking family dying, like, there was a couple of years in between all them, so even with that, I was just waiting on the next thing to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And even with my ma being sick now, like, I find it very hard to kind of tune into that now, because it's like I leave everything till the last minute, because we deal with it before that if I don't have to. I learn to lock all that stuff up. Sometimes then I feel guilty for not being there enough, but then I feel pressured for having to be, like, It's
mad how the brain
it's
works,
mad, man,
like.
what goes
Yeah.
on in my head sometimes.
Yeah. It's crazy how the brain will rob you of the good things like that, and how, as I said, like you're always waiting for the bad things. Because I think we've this in our belief, right? And even to this day, right, after doing all those years of walking myself, I still have that sort of belief, right? Well, I think sometimes when something good happens, right, I think, I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me? And I feel real bad. So I do. It's like I'm being punished.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what it is about it. And I'm sure that's the same feeling that you have going on with yourself, like.
Yeah, well, that's it. But I suppose in my head, I'll always have that. I seem to look ahead too much.
Yeah.
And I forget to
Looking for the
be
bad.
in the now. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I really
Yeah.
forget that. And I think what happens is you get lost in that. And then you're left with this feeling of unfulfillment because you're telling yourself nearly like what you have isn't enough.
Yeah, a lot of the time you have your walls up, like your defence,
Yeah.
that's why you're looking ahead, because you're looking for the
But
bad.
this is
like.
what I mean. Like, I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, I have it all together. I don't have it all together. Some days I ask myself, what are you doing? Or what are you thinking like that? Like, I'm so far from it. But I like to talk about that because it's such a normal thing for a lot of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Such a fucking normal thing, which is why I think it's important to show the good with the bad. And I'll always be a work in progress, but I think for myself, I feel like I have to have some sort of purpose in order to go forward, because I think it's nearly that old thing that just doing it for me isn't good enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which for anyone watching, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
You should do everything for yourself first.
Yeah.
But it's easy to say that, but some people, they can't feel it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just I always say to people now, and people say when I'm doing something nice myself, and people are like, oh, you love yourself, don't you? Well, yeah, of course I love myself. That took me a long time to love myself. You know, that kind of way. So of course when the opportunity arises, I'm going to treat myself, because that's what we should be doing.
I think maybe not love yourself, but I think have compassion.
Yes.
And realise the journey you've been on and what it's took to get there. And I think when you do that, when you mess up, you can kind of bounce back quicker, because you don't fall into that victim mentality or,
Yeah.
you know, and stay there for a lot longer than you need to. When you're able to kind of resonate with yourself and be compassionate and say, well, hold on, I might have made a mistake today, but look at all the fucking good things I've done. Look at the good things I'm doing. Do you know, 90 times out of 10 it outweighs the bad. You know, we all focus on the negative much more than we focus on the positive in life. And anyone out there trying to turn it around, whether you're coming from the system or you're living in a household where there's a lot going on, or disadvantaged areas, you can get really lost in that, and trying to find your identity and where you fit in is a huge thing. Do you know what I mean? But what I would say is, you have your whole life ahead of you. The friends that you have now can all be gone within 10 years. Not out of badness or falling out, but people just go about living their life, and that gives you a chance all over again to pick what sort of person you want to be around the people who have similar interests or hold you accountable for what you do. You know, you're not stuck with the same friend circle all your life. You're not going to be stuck around your family your whole life, and while it might feel bad now, there's always a change coming down the road that will give you a chance to rebuild yourself as a person. So you should never give up, and I'll finish on just saying, don't focus on your mistakes, focus on your wins, and be fucking compassionate to yourself, because you deserve it. Do you know, we all deserve that.
And what is every failure?
Sorry?
What is every failure?
Well, every failure, if you're in recovery and you fuck up, you know, or if you're in a relationship and it doesn't go well because you've been selfish. I mean, there's so many things you can go into.
But they're an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
Whether
But it's whether you use that opportunity or not is the problem. Or you want to blame everybody else by yourself, which is a big thing. I mean,
every failure is an opportunity to reflect.
Yeah, I've had to learn to take a lot of accountability in my relationship and stuff like that. I didn't realise how much of like I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? And that's,
you were there, but you were checked out.
I believe that's a form of abuse, nearly.
To the
other person.
It's definitely a form of neglect.
I'm far from perfect, man. I have so much to improve on. But you know what? I'm willing to give myself that time. It's not here's the one thing that's gonna fix you. I fix myself, and I'll reach out when I need it. but I'm gonna give it the time that it deserves and the times that it needs, because it didn't happen like this overnight. So it's not gonna fix itself overnight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I say to people. Don't go fucking hard on yourself. Your time will come, but just never give up. You know that way?
Yeah, 100%. And we leave it there.
Well, yeah, I think it's enough of that for today. So that's just a little insight onto me as a person. As I said, I've talked about before. I feel like a broken record now.
What we'll do is we'll link the other podcast down below, so we will. So if you want to go and check them out, the other podcast he was on.
Yeah, and
so
Joe
you can
Irish
hear
and stuff.
more of a story. Yeah, with Joe Irish and that. Yeah.
So look, that's kind of me, and I hope whatever I've said might have resonated with somebody out there, because that's really what it's all about, is connecting with people, and just people knowing that you're not on your own. And sometimes just reaching out to the right people for support can change everything in your life. Look, I've had people come into my life that have made a huge impact because I was willing to step outside of the game, willing to ask for help at times that I needed, like with the Red Door and stuff like that. But it's a journey. This is a journey of life that we're all on, and it has its ups and downs. You have to run with it, but you can't let the car drive itself. You have to get in and grab the steering wheel every now and again and take life back. So, yeah, that's 100%. The crack. But so thanks for joining us. Please tune in, and we're going to ask if there is any sponsors out there who would be interested, because we're doing it all ourselves. There is a lot of cost involved, and we put a good bit of time into it, and we hope that the message we put out helps people. So if you want to be a part of that, please get on board and give us a sponsor if you don't mind. Just fucking legends.
And we catch us after hell and back. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, like and share. And as always, get up, get out and get after it. 100%.